Well, good evening, everybody. I hope my microphone works. Let's see. Okay, there we go. For some reason, the setting was off on the microphone, and so now I had to get that back in order. And so, have to give me a wrench on the other channel. All right, well, don't worry about that. My primary concern is going to be this channel here. The task force, what I'm doing is testing simulcasting, because I'll be doing that a lot when I'm doing the Murtathons. I will be live streaming to both channels, so that the content is passed along to the new channel as well as this one. What I will not be doing is, if I use the Task Force for Truth as a primary channel, I won't be live streaming to this one because the rules are different for that particular channel. So, it's going to be interesting to see how people chat over on the other channel. I have never simulcast, so I don't know if the people will be able to chat from the other channel in my main dashboard or not. So that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. Now, what my intent tonight in this is to discuss a couple of things. And the first thing I'm going to discuss is what Levi Page talked about last night, to an extent. Levi Page claims that he was the subject of a death threat by the Kathy McHale. I can't pronounce her name correctly, so my apologies to her. And the death threat was allegedly made to a tip line that someone or group has set up that has a reward out for the arrest of Timothy Charles Holmseth, who has a bench warrant against him from the states of Florida and from the state of Minnesota. In Minnesota, he has a warrant out for his arrest because he failed to show up for court. It's a contempt of court citation. And so what happened there was that, okay, I'm doing something at the same time, so if I drift off. But, we all know the story. He didn't show up for court. Well, apparently, hello, Levi. Welcome to the show. I starting off talking about this death threat, and what I'm going to do, if I can set this thing up, is here we go. I'm going to put the patch here in case you want to come in and discuss this, or anyone who wants to come in and discuss anything about tonight. But as I was saying, Levi was sent a death threat through the group that is asking for the reward. And kind of having to duplicate what he did last night, but the message reads as follows. Take this to the bank. I will find out who you are, and I will definitely have you killed. Happy New Year. Take it to the bank. The only person I can think of who would be such a fucking lowlife would be Levi. If you aren't Levi, keep him alive by saying who you are. Report me so I can find out who you are. You are a special kind of twisted loser. Jerk off to that. And apparently this was made in December 31st, 2020, right at Christmas Eve. So this is a hell of a Christmas Eve present to get. Yeah, excuse me, folks. But the problem here is these death threats go around all the time. I have had death threats made against me for years. And, you go through this. People say they're going to come and piss on your grave if you die and all that. And so, and I'm going to ask, am I getting audio out? Because my little ringy dingy isn't doing what it's supposed to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take down my thing for a minute. Because usually I get a little indication. And let's see, let me take this out. Okay, yeah, I get the little class ring, so we're on. Thank you, fireman. Yeah, I had an overlay and a couple things covering the screen, and I couldn't say. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome to the show tonight. We're having more or less a general chat, and I'm testing simulcasting because I've got the other channel up and running. What I don't know is if I'm going to be able to get chats in this room from that channel, but I'm not going to worry about that. And we were talking about the death threat against Levi. Now, apparently, they have verified that it is her that made the threat. It's alleged that she confessed to making the threat. And why someone would even do such a thing is beyond me. It's no joke to do these things. A lot of people think it's a joke. I had a woman from Washington do that, and she said, "Oh, it's a joke," and it was no joke. Um, she did a similar thing where she said, "Here, sent a picture of her noose," and she goes, "Here, try this on." Making death threats is not a funny thing to be doing. Um, Martha, I generally start at 9 o'clock. Um, I think the reason why some people start at 10 o'clock is to try and make it easier on the people in the other time zones. One of the compromises I made is I usually do the live streams longer so that other people can get in. And of course, the streams are recorded so people can watch them at their convenience. Um, so anyhow, the let me see. I'm going to bring up, see if I can get that to come up. Um, I had meant, as usual, my Saturday is a bad night for me to do these things. Uh, but this is the alleged chat or text message that was sent to the chat line or to the tip line. And as you can see, it's pretty clear what the individual wanted. Uh, yeah, they sending death threats is a felony, and if it can be proven that it's who it is that's making these death threats, it there's some very serious charges here, and that was a very strongly worded threat. It wasn't I'm kidding or anything like that. It was a direct threat. Um, Actually, I'm not. I don't see. I'm on the primary channel. If any of the stuff is coming over on the task force channel, I'm. What I do not know is if I get messages from both channels. Uh, I was under the impression that yes, if I am on the studio here, I should be able to see the chats from both channels. And the reason this is going to be important is because when I live stream future trials, be that um, Field McConnell, Cynthia Absug again, and Nellie Blanchard, I'm going to simulcast over the two primary YouTube channels. I'm going to live stream over my Facebook account, and I don't think I'm going to be able to broadcast over Twitter because they no longer support live streaming. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about Twitter. But that's the plan. And so what I'm doing is um, testing to see how simulcasting is working. And, I won't know what's going on the other channel. And we'll see how. Yeah, I think I remember that. Uh, but that is a threat against law enforcement, and he shouldn't do that. They never took action. Yeah, that's. Thank you, fireman, for that. Uh, I just I would have to. I suppose I would have to pull up a second screen to monitor that second channel because I did it. I went ahead. I wanted to have um, this test to see. Now, while I, Well, I've got the Task Force for Truth channel running, Martha. I'm testing to see how the uh, simulcast is going to work. The Task Force for Truth is a channel where there's going to be fewer restrictions on who can come in and what can be talked about in the style of of how I run that particular channel. This is going to be my primary quote unquote news channel. And in this channel, it's going to be a little bit more regulated as to who can be in here and, what can be discussed here and who can be discussed here. With my new status, I have to maintain a little bit of control. But yeah, firemen, I know they will prosecute the death threats, but again, I don't know when or how the death threat rises to a level as to where they will do something about it. Now, thank you, and that's the advantage of this software, and it's why I chose it. There's a number of different ways to broadcast multiple channels, and with this service that I'm using, they do everything off their server, so it isn't loading down my computer. I was getting a lot of buffering issues, and after testing this software out, I've decided to go with it for the time being. Even though now I can live stream mobile without anything. But this just seems to me a more efficient way of doing things. And funny enough, I'll be able to live stream on the other channel. Well, that's technically correct, Martha. But in the beginning, he was arrested in county and put into the county jail in Wisconsin. He then was transferred to Florida, where he spent some time in jail there. Then he was under house arrest at his son's house, and now he's under house arrest in Wisconsin. He's under a lot of restrictions. He's monitored by the company that was hired to take care of the GPS monitor and also take care of, that the bonding companies also involved. And speaking of which, there is a status hearing tomorrow in Fort Lauderdale. Now, Fireman John sent me the form, and if you look at the form, it says that the Phil McConnell has to be there. Well, what had happened is in the prior status hearing, there was an arrangement made with the judge that Field McConnell would not come down to Florida, that the lawyer was going to handle it on his behalf. And since it was a housekeeping matter, they were going to waive the requirement for Field to be down here. And they didn't change the form when it went up to public record. Now, yes, the hearing is tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's a status hearing, probably lasting an hour or two. It's first thing in the morning. I am not going to be in Florida at 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to have to keep checking in to see what happened, because I don't think it's going to be over Zoom. It might, but I'll find that out. But what I'm going to do is once it hits the docket because the state of Florida is a lot better at this than. Okay, fireman says no Zoom, so I'm going to have to wait until it gets recorded by the court. The only thing I wasn't sure of, firemen, is if they would have something to where field would at least be able to monitor the proceedings. But if they're not doing a Zoom, then he's not going to be able to do that. But it's a procedural trial. They're just clearing up matter. So, well, I'm the one talking. My webcam is not working. And until I can get this webcam issue straightened out, you're either going to see what I have up on the screen right now, or if I drop the screen, if I drop the image, you'll see the little ring going boom, 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 boom. And that's basically the only way I can do this for now until I get this mess straightened out. This just started happening, and I don't know what's going on with it, but that's where we're at right now. Hello, Lee. Welcome to the channel. Now, another thing I want to discuss here, as soon as I get set up, is the case of Sophie Long. Now, I hadn't really been paying very close attention to this case. But it's basically the father, Michael Long, the father, took his daughter and has been on the run, I believe, since July 7th. And it's pretty well believed that he is in the state of Arizona. And there is a photograph of him in Arizona at a very famous landmark, which I know because I've been there, and that is the Meteor Crater. And he was also photographed in front of some kind of mural. And as Levi got into last night, that mural was a dead giveaway for anyone who was trying to figure out where he is at. And the one thing that kind of struck me was Levi was saying he was getting comments about doxing and stalking. Now, there's an issue here that really wasn't brought up, and that is this. Mr. Long is a fugitive from justice. At the moment, hi, Kim Harp. At the moment, he's got a bench warrant for failure to appear. But since he crossed into another state, he could be hit with federal kidnapping charges. And at a minimum, he could be charged with felony interference with the custody of a child. Any number of charges that an entity could bring based on the evidence and what they decide to do in that regard. But Michael Long made a lot of accusations. There was a really intense video that was made where the child was saying that she did not want to go back to her mother. Now, it's usually, this is normal when you get into disputes between the parents or any guardians of a child, that there's going to be a back and forth. All right, let me go down. Why didn't that come up? Okay, Rebecca. there's a couple things here. Uh, at the moment, I don't personally know what kind of car he's driving. And not all cars have a GPS built into them. This is a feature that's in fairly new cars that are maybe at the most 3 years old. So the car may not have GPS. Now, if he's got a General Motors car, they might be able to activate the OnStar. But you have to go to court and get a subpoena for that, because you got to get a search warrant. The pinging of the phone, he may not have a cell phone, or he may have a series of burner phones. Now, if you remember, one of the things that came out in the Cynthia Abzug case is that there were alleged instructions given to Cynthia Abzug not to carry a cell phone. She was advised to buy burner phones, talk to whoever she was going to talk to, and throw the phone away. There's all kinds of things that were put into place. Now, as of right now, Michael Long doesn't have, or is it Michael or John? As long as he stays out of the state of Texas, he's basically okay, because it's a misdemeanor warrant that's only good within the state. There will be no extradition from any other state. Now, if this turns into a felony warrant, then that's a whole different ballgame. And it was clear from the web page that I visited that there are people helping him. Apparently, he's somewhere where it's a ranch. They got cattle and animals. They were going on about all the things they had. Okay, it is Michael. Thank you. So he's basically fine. Now, this is where I'm going to discuss something different. Up until now, the majority of these cases, the followers of these cases have sided with the mother. Now, Cynthia Abzug, for years, had disputes going back and forth between her husbands or other individuals that had affiliations with her children. And she, for the most part, had custody of her children. The biological fathers had no custody, or they waived custody. Their child support had something to do with it. But Cynthia Abzug had control over her children. The same is true of Neely Blanchard. Everybody is on Neely Blanchard's side, or was. Now, she had visitation in the case of her children while they were up in Kentucky. Her mother had custody of the children, and she got into trouble because she took the children out of her custody and ran off to the other side of Arizona. And so everybody was supporting Neely Blanchard in her situation with CPS. There's the other woman in Colorado that had a dispute with CPS. She started to leave Colorado, thought better of it, and turned around. There's the woman out in Utah who got a hold of some kind of fake paperwork, took her child or children, and ran off to the state of Washington and got herself and another woman in trouble. Everybody's supporting her. So all these cases that we have all talked about and seen are of support of the woman and her actions trying to get her custody back. This case is entirely different. We have a man with his daughter on the run, and it's the man that's being supported and not the mother and not the aunt, who I believe was given custody of the child. Everybody is trusting the man and supporting the man in this case. And that comes as something of a surprise. And it leads me to ask this question. how do people on the internet decide who they are going to support in these cases? Are they going to support the male, the female, the aunt, the uncle, the grandmother, grandfather? Who? How do you all decide who you are going to support in these cases? This is what I have a bit of a confusion about. Now, in the case of Sophie Long, I believe this is equally split. There are people that are supportive of Michael Long, and there are people that are against Michael Long. And the same goes to the other half of this situation. So it's kind of hard to figure out who's right and who's wrong. And this is the danger we run into when getting into the middle of these cases. Are we supporting the wrong side of the fence here? Is the father right? Is the mother right? Is the aunt right? Who's right in all this? The single most important thing in all of this is the child. Something has to be done to be in the best interest of that little girl. And I don't think the father running around on the as a fugitive from justice is the best thing for her. Because you have the usual questions. What about her education? Is this child ever going to go to school? What about in a medical emergency? What's going to happen if there's a medical emergency? Now, it's not quite as complicated because since he is only being charged with a misdemeanor and he is the biological father of this child, he'll probably be able to get medical attention for the child if necessary. The problem with all this is it just complicates this little girl's life. And I don't know how the child is taking this. They are saying that the girl is perfectly fine with what's going on, but we don't know that because it's all these internet personalities that are saying that. This has to go through the system. And I agree, Rebecca. He should be taking this to court and fighting it. I am this nonsense of parents running off with their kids because they don't believe in the system is nuts. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It's traumatic for the child. And now she's getting all this publicity. And when she gets to be an adult, she's going to look back on this and wonder what the hell happened. And she may or may not condone what her father did. Now she's out there having a good old time going to tourist places and all this, but what's going to happen? And then you have that dark question. This is a man with a little girl. Now, he allegedly has failed his psychological examination. Now, is this man a predator that would do something to his own daughter? We certainly hope not. But when you have a man with a female child, you have to wonder. I mean, there are cases that this has happened where the father and the girl get into an inappropriate situation. I certainly hope that this doesn't happen, but it's one of those possibilities. And you have to wonder, who is the father hanging around with? Who the hell are these people? What are their backgrounds? I mean, yeah, he's getting on social media. He's been interviewed on YouTube. He's been interviewed by a newspaper, an online publication, and so forth. I believe the Daily Mail did something about him. And apparently, according to this post, he's got plenty of money, so he can sustain this being on the run indefinitely until or unless something has happened, something happens in the Texas court to give the state the power to have adjacent states arrest and extradite this man and get him back into court. Now, this is what happened with Cynthia Abzuck. She was charged with a felony. She was arrested out of state, up in Montana, and extradited. Man. Okay, so he claims the money's gone. It's pretty interesting that he spent $200,000 in such a brief period of time. But, all right, the money's gone. So, is somebody going to start sending him even more money? Because you get, I've been looking at all these websites, and there are a lot of people supporting this guy. And, you get these diehard anti-CPS people, and they're going to dig into their pockets, and they're going to go after him. Well, okay. He claims he's a public figure. Well, he is a public figure because he is on the run with his daughter, generating all this publicity. And so that makes him a public figure. This gets back to what I was saying about him being photographed at a tourist attraction at the famous Arizona crater and so forth. So if he is a public figure, the charge of doxing and stalking is off the table because public figures waive a lot of protections here. Your activities are in the public interest. And in this case, having absconded allegedly with his daughter and taken her to a different state and being involved in this highly intense custody battle, that makes him a public figure. It's a matter of public interest. And so, that's the way you go. And, and of course, he's a sovereign citizen. So this is probably why the support is for him and not towards the mother, which is hypocritical. Because in all the cases prior to this one, everybody has taken the side of the mother. And it's like the Utah case I pointed out. The child was under supervised visitation with the father. The mother was supposed to come and join in the visitation. She showed up with some weird paperwork and fooled the supervisor of the visitation, and off goes the kid. And everybody says, hooray for the mother, hooray for the mother. Here, the mother's the bad one. Mother's the bad guy, bad woman, whatever you want to call her. She's the enemy, and this Michael Long character is the hero. And yeah, Fireman, you're partly correct. He is a non-custodial kidnapping suspect, but that makes him a public figure because the loose definition of a public figure is someone whose actions or position is in the public interest. And when you've got a man running around with a child that's not supposed to be in his custody, that's a matter of public interest. So in that respect, he's a public figure. And it's to the advantage of the general public because the protections that a non-public figure, such as you or me, don't apply here. Because he has done an act so important that it concerns a large segment of the general public. Because this is being followed in the mainstream media as well as in social media and by people on and off the internet. So this is any talk of doxing or stalking is nonsense because it's the public's right to know because this is a child in the custody of an adult male. It's a female child in the custody of an adult male. There's allegations of psychological instability here. We don't know what this man would do if he was cornered, if, by accident or deliberate, the child got hurt or worse. So, people that declare themselves as a public figure are walking into dangerous territory, because by saying you are a public figure, you are giving up certain privacy rights. You are giving up the right to fight doxing. You're giving up the right to fight stalking. More of your comings and goings and personal details is a matter of public information. So people shouldn't take on the title of a public figure lightly until they read up and find out exactly what a public figure is. Now, Tim Holseth is a public figure because he has declared that he is third in line to the president of the United States, and he has all these special qualifications. That makes him a public figure. And because he's a public figure, a lot of protections that he normally would have vanishes. And the same goes for Field McConnell and all these other people. They get themselves in a situation where they are public figures, whether they declare it or not. That's why people need to be careful in deciding what they want to be. Do they want to be a public figure, become famous, or not? Because there's major disadvantages in being famous. And there's no real hard definition when you hit that tripwire. It's just all of a sudden you go from being ordinary Joe to being Mr. Important or Mrs. Important public figure. And when you cross that tripwire, all hell can break loose. So, he decided he wanted to be a public figure. He's got to live with that decision. Because he's a public figure, whether he likes it or not. And, I would agree with you from what I've been doing to catch up to this thing. He loves the attention. He makes these videos. He does all these interviews. He goes out of his way to make himself famous. And right or wrong, he is garnering a lot of attention. Now, we go back to the beginning here and try and decide, why is this guy the good guy? Why is the mother, the aunt, the uncle, the grandmother, the grandfather, all the other side, the bad guys in this? Are they guilty of what Michael Long is claiming they are guilty of, or is he guilty of what everybody else says he's guilty of? This is the confusion here when it comes to trying to figure out who to support and who to rally against in this particular case. But in the middle of all this, we have this poor child. And, she's too young to understand the dynamics of the situation. She's loves her father, and they're probably having a nice adventure. I don't know if she's estranged from her mother, or the father has coaxed her to be estranged from her mother, or what. But he does not have the custodial rights. And apparently there's 3 children involved in this custody battle. And the thing of it is she is the only child with this man. He did not take the other children. And the court decided it's alienation, and she was coached. Said it was the worst case they've ever seen. Yeah, that's the article I have up right here from the local station, and they're going through this case. And they have, let me see if I can download this. As the Texas Department of Public Safety has a wanted poster. All right, why didn't that? Saved it as a web page. I hate it when it does that, so I gotta do it this way. Okay. If I had time today, I would have prepared this better. So. But this is the wanted poster. I don't know how well you can read it. Those of you who have phones may have a problem. But it basically says Texas Missing Persons Clearinghouse Online Bulletin. Abductor details. So he's being listed as an abductor. Michael John Long with no AKA. Case type involuntary family abduction. Last seen in Sequin, Guadalupe. That must be a county. Yeah, boy, he's tall. He's 6'4", 205 pounds, 42 years old. Missing juvenile is believed to be with her non-custodial parent, Michael Long, and may be en route to Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Mexico, or Argentina. It's going to be interesting to figure out how he's going to get out of the country. Michael Long is possibly driving an off-white 2010 Ford Edge SUV or gray van with blacked out windows, an NRA sticker, and a black rack on top. Missing juvenile has a small burn mark on one of her arms and has a picture of Sophie and contact information that anybody who sees either of them can call. Now, what's not clear is if anyone's seeing these two outside the state of Texas, and reported them, if they would be extradited back to the state of Texas, because I am not clear on what the law is when somebody is abducted a child in the state of Texas. Is it listed as a felony? Can he be extradited? What's the situation here? Because this is a lot different than just having a wanted for failure to appear in court out there. This guy's wanted for abducting a child. That's kidnapping. So what needs to be done is to call the state of Texas and find out if he can be extradited from out of state. Well, it's, the exact wording is non-custodial abduction. They haven't mentioned the word kidnapping, but if it is kidnapping, you are correct. The FBI could snatch him up in a heartbeat, because the FBI has a lot of resources and they could nail this clown. especially if there's people helping them, because they could tell the people, if you don't turn this guy in, your ass is going to jail for helping them. So, uh, the law is weird. Um, and, I gonna have to find out from the state of Texas exactly what their situation, or, what their, see, 876. It's 6 o'clock at night out there. All right, let me figure something out. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Let me figure something out here. Because two. Oh, what the hell? There we go. Let's see. Yeah, my name is William Murtathon, and what I'm calling about is this abductor bulletin about Michael John Long, and I have a question. If he is found in another state, will he be extradited back to Texas, or is he only apprehendable in the state of Texas?
Okay, yes, give me 1 second. What was the subject's name one time?
My name is William Murtaugh. I am a online media individual out of the state of Florida, and we've been discussing this case, and we're trying to figure out if he is found in the state of Arizona, would he be extradited back to the state of Texas?
Okay, but what was the person's name, the subject's name?
It's Michael John Jon Long, case number Alpha 2106001.
Okay. Okay, you said it was Michael John Long?
Okay, for some reason my microphone was not on. I called the Texas Department of Public Safety to find out if he was extraditable, and I meant for that to go over the air and it didn't work. But what they told me is they don't know. Uh, so I'm going to have to call them back tomorrow during normal business hours and get specific information on whether or not he's extraditable. So, that's where we're standing right now. Is it's an answer that we don't have. So I will be. Well, actually, I don't know. Tomorrow is Sunday. I don't know if they'll be open. So this may have to wait until Monday. I keep forgetting this is Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Maybe an expert can chime in on at some point down the road and find out where we stand on whether or not this guy can be extradited back to the state of Texas. I would think that if it raises to the level of a felony, and since this involves a child being abducted, that they would do that. But right now, even the guy running the phone over there doesn't know for sure. So I'm just sorry that didn't go over the air. My microphone was on mute for some reason. It's easy to hit. Yeah, Jolly, you're probably right. I would agree. This looks like a felony, but the official running that hotline out in Texas doesn't know for sure. And so, if he can't confirm that he's extraditable, then we're kind of stuck. And so, what I'm going to have to do is, as soon as I can call the state of Texas again and talk to the people that are running the hotline, they would be able to give a definitive answer as to what can happen to this guy if he's caught out of state and not be running around saying yes he can or no he can't, based on something we don't know. I like to try and get accurate information so that we have an idea of what will happen to this guy if and when he is caught. Yeah, this reminds me of somebody else we know well. The problem is that if that contempt citation was a misdemeanor and was in the state of Texas, this doesn't rise to the level of a felony. I am wondering if this goes on for any period of time, if they would raise it to a federal kidnapping charge, and then the United States Marshals and the FBI would start hunting this guy down. See, this, you would have to be familiar with the laws in that particular state, and as well as the laws of the United States government. Right now, this is a state of Texas matter. I don't know enough about their laws to know if they are going to raise this to a felony level. I just worry because that there is a history apparently of this guy not being stable, allegedly, that there is no telling what would happen to this child under the wrong circumstances. This guy has taken upon himself to seize his daughter. Okay, Colton's Law. Where would I find that? Let me see. Let me bring up. Hi, Shar. Okay. We got Colton's Law in Illinois. Colton's Law, protecting children, Texas children. Let me do this because I don't think that sound bite came through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen, window, and then I go to brand. Okay, let me know if this audio comes through. Okay, let me work on this a minute here. Let's see. I think I know what the problem is. Okay, share screen, share audio, window. So this is the same mistake I made before. All right, let me do it again. Let me go share screen, share audio, window. And let me know if we get audio. All right, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to wind up having the whole screen come across, but it seems to be the only way I can do this. All right, let's see.
We're now learning more about the impact Colton's Law has made since it was passed during the last legislative session. The law aims at helping Child Protective Services find vulnerable children who've fallen off the radar. It involves getting some help from law enforcement officers all across the state. Fox 7's Elizabeth Saab has the special report.
When I sit in here and I know that Colton made such an impact.
It's the kind of room where 2-year-old Colton Turner would have been comforted.
There's so many people in the field that won't forget him, and they've changed the way that they do things because of him.
Instead, it's now comforting others.
That's the way you just have to accept is that no matter what you do, you can't save him.
Nearly 2 years ago, the toddler was found buried in a southeast Austin field. His body had been there for nearly 2 months. Colton's mother, Megan Work, is waiting to stand trial for her part in his death. Work's boyfriend, Michael Turner, pleading guilty earlier this year.
A lot of these problems, like in Colton's situation, it was wasn't a social issue, it was a criminal issue.
Colton's mother had dropped off her family's radar. His great aunt Raquel Helfert getting wind that the 2-year-old was being abused. She mounted a desperate search to find him.
Criminals that, had power over a 2-year-old, and law enforcement needed to be involved.
After he was found, a CPS report showed Colton had slipped through their cracks too. Investigators couldn't track him or his mother down. And because she wasn't on law enforcement's radar, a routine traffic stop couldn't save the child either.
This is where Colton got his justice, was in the eyes of the public in places like this, people that would not tolerate another Colton to happen.
And Helfrich and longtime family friend Liz St. Clair made sure of that by pushing for a law, taking their fight to the Capitol during this last legislative session.
We've all failed Colton. The entire state of Texas on so many levels has failed Colton.
That's all that was left to do, is to try for other kids to make changes so that no other child has to go through this. No other family has to go through this.
House Bill 2053 passes.
Colton's law is helping kids who fall off of CPS's radar by getting law enforcement involved immediately. Before HB 2053 was passed, a Fox 7 investigation revealed a hole that Texas's children were falling through. Nearly 2,500 CPS cases were closed in 2014 because the children couldn't be found.
The reason why we wanted state law enforcement to investigate these children and figure out where they are is because the training is so much more in depth with state law enforcement as far as abductions and murder investigations, and they know the right steps to take.
According to an open records request we filed with the Department of Public Safety, from the time Colton's law went into effect on September 1st, 2015, through April 20th of this year, law enforcement agencies and Child Protective Services found nearly 430 children. That's out of the almost 2,400 they were looking for.
My heart broke with Colton. I mean, we failed Colton, and I met with the family and I said that.
Judge John Specia is the outgoing head of DFPS.
Our collaboration with the police, our work with the police is far better today than before Colton's law. And so that is one of those situations, very bittersweet, that we lost an incredibly sweet child, but because of that death, we made changes that are positive and will protect other children.
It empowers the people who are doing the work. It was even up to 90 to 120 days before law enforcement even had this important information.
Marcia Farney filed HB 2053 and pushed it through to the end.
We couldn't have done this without so many players. The family, your reporting, law enforcement at every level was very supportive. It was a real good group of people working together, and I was one piece of that.
This was just like a crack in the door that can't be shut now.
Elizabeth Saab, Fox 7 News.
Okay, well, at least it got through on some level. I'm going to have to do some more playing around with this thing, excuse me, to see if I can bring the volume up. When I was playing it, it was twice as loud, but when I filtered it through the share option that's on this thing, the volume went down considerably, and I don't know how to control the sound. We'll have to do this a different way. This is the link to the law relating to the protection of certain children who may be subject to child abuse or neglect through the operation of the Child Safety Check Alert List. And it goes on. If at any time during an investigation of a report of child abuse or neglect to which the department has assigned the highest priority, the department is unable to locate the child who is the subject of the report or abuse or neglect or the child's family, the department shall notify the Department of Public Safety that the location of the child and the child's family is unknown. The Department of Public Safety shall conduct an investigation to determine the location of the child and the child's safety using all available resources to locate the child and the child's family, including the use of the child safety check alert list under section 261.3022. If the Department of Public Safety locates the child and the child's family, the Department of Public Safety shall notify the department of the location of the child and the child's family. That was the first paragraph of that law. Now, it basically orders the appropriate departments to do an all-out effort to figure out where the child is. And so that gives them that much more incentive to locate Sophie and to figure out the best solution to this problem. Now, the father did an unwise thing by taking the child out of the state of Texas, and so forth. He should have worked within the system. If he believes he's got a strong case, he needs to work with authorities to adjudicate that and not take the law into his own hands. This is the problem with these people. This is what got Cynthia Absug in trouble. It's what got Nellie Blanchard in trouble. And it's what's getting a lot of other people in trouble, is they are taking matters into their own hands. And because of that, people are sitting in jail or are under house arrest for various levels of charges. We have a murder charge, first-degree murder charge, as a result of this kind of a situation. So it gets to, people need to start obeying the law and quit fooling with these sovereign citizens. Would the mom... that's a good question, Laurie. And again, this is going to have to be from someone that knows Texas law. Every state is different in how they do things. Right now, I guess we're operating under state law in this situation. So, Shar answers that an emergency filing is on record. So that would indicate that they can do it, and they have done it. So I guess the only thing we can do at this point is to just keep our eyes open and see what develops. This is one of these things that could develop at any minute, that someone finds this individual, Michael, calls in, and they do something about it. Right now, he's off on a rant someplace having the time of his life with his daughter. And what's going to happen next is unknown. Now, one thing I want to do is I'm checking something. Okay, there are a number of groups. This particular one I just brought up, okay, this is a private group. So I can't do anything with a private group. So let me go in. Okay, Sophie Long case updates. Okay. Okay, the latest post was yesterday, and this seems to be supporting Michael Long. Yesterday, there's the famous picture of Michael Long and Sophie at the crater in Arizona. So this particular site seems to be in favor of Michael Long. Um, and let's see. Rekieta Law, Rekieta, apparently had him on at this link. So you guys might want to check that out. And see what he had to say over there. I don't want to get into copyright issues and bringing up all these places. So, but they had him on being interviewed at this website. But most of the websites that I have found are supporting Michael. There has not been a website that I have been able to find that supports the mother side of the family. And so I can't, unless I'm reading these websites wrong, I'm only getting the father side of the equation here. So if anybody has any way that I could get information from the other side as to where their position is and all this, that would be helpful. Okay, let's see. Shar, would this be specific to the state of Texas? Let's see. Okay. If you are going through divorce and child custody proceedings, you should never leave the state with your child without the direct consent of the court or your former spouse, even if you are the biological parent. Leaving the state with your child could be grounds for parental kidnapping in Texas charges. Texas Penal Code Section 25.03 states the parental objection occurs when a parent takes a child under the age of 18, knowing either of the following: taking the child will violate a court order, they are not the child's custodial parent, or there is an open custody suit in regards to the child. So that, he's 2 out of 3 on that one. The court takes parental kidnapping charges very seriously. In fact, the state considers such a charge as a felony. That answers that. Because of that, the punishments for conviction are quite severe. In addition to paying a hefty monetary fine, if found guilty of parental kidnapping, you could even spend several years in state prison. Furthermore, if you held your child for ransom, used a deadly weapon at any point, or abused your charges, then the court will further increase those charges. So it states here, according to this Texas attorney, that he's looking at a felony. Levi, we're also talking about Texas Penal Code Section 25.03, which covers parental kidnapping. Now, this comes from a lawyer's website. And so the lawyers do this, in hopes of getting prospective clients. But if I read this thing correctly, this guy is in a lot of trouble. So, it's not a terribly bright idea to pull the stunt Michael did to begin with. And, so it looks like he's facing a felony in the state of Texas if they decide to levy those charges. And the fact that this guy's been gone for a better part of a month would be leaning in that direction, because the longer this guy keeps his child out of the state of Texas, the worse it's going to be for him. So, that's basically what we're doing, is we're trying to figure out, is he extraditable from the state of Arizona or any other state back to the state of Texas? I tried calling the tip line. The person I need to talk to is not there. So either tomorrow or Monday, I'm going to have to call somebody back and find out exactly where the state of Texas stands with this particular case. It would be common sense that he would be extraditable back to the state of Texas. But, since I'm not from the state of Texas and I am not familiar with the laws out there. So we'll just have to wait on that. And then hopefully, the guy comes to his senses and gets that child back to the state of Texas unharmed. And we work out what is in the best interest of the child, which should have been done in the first place. The guy just should have gone along with everything and let this all be worked out in the state court. But it is what it is. So now we have to see where this is going to go. And from what I can see, Shar, they have applied Colton's Law because of this poster that's been put up. And, hopefully it's going to be at a felony level so they can cross state lines and get this guy back to the state of Texas so they can resolve this matter in the court. And what I have not been able to find, Levi, and you might be able to help me out on this, is the other side of the story. The mother and whoever else is involved that say that Michael Long is wrong with what he's doing, and what their position is on all the allegations that have been flying around. Because this goes back to what I said in the beginning of the program. How does the internet community decide which side to take? The fathers or mothers or girlfriends or whoever else? People are taking sides in this. And are people taking the right side, or are people taking the wrong side? Either way, what is important here is the child and what is in the best interest of the child. Doesn't matter if it's the father that's right or wrong or the mother that's right or wrong. It is in the best interest of the child to get her in a stable situation. And running around outside the state of Texas is not in the best interest of the child. We are in the beginning of August. I don't know when these kids go to school, but the child looks like she needs to be in school learning what she's supposed to be learning in school. So that needs to be done. This girl needs to go back to school. She needs to have her shots. I don't know, I don't know where these people stand on COVID vaccines, but it would be nice if the child was protected from COVID, because it's indications now that your children are capable of getting this horrific disease. So, that is, that's what I heard last night, that he was not supposed to be in contact with the child for 90 days. So he's in violation of that. I remember that from last night, Levi. This, if this is the case, then Mike is the bad guy here. And that could be why people. So why are people taking his side in this? If this is true, that he is a vexatious litigant and he's going around making all these false accusations, then why are people supporting him and not the mother? And all these other cases that we discuss and hear about on the internet, it's everybody is on the side of the mother. It's rather unusual that people are taking the side of the father, and I'm kind of confused about that one. Why is the father the hero in this particular case? What has he done to convince people that he is the good guy? I mean, are people that gullible to a video to say, okay, we see this video, the girl's crying her eyes out because she can't go back to her father and she doesn't want to go with her mother? Is that all it takes to convince somebody that this guy is the hero in this and the mother is the zero? I don't know as if that would be a good indicator. And yeah, I see that Holmseth is defending him. I've seen videos. And again, this goes back to why. What is it about Michael Long that makes these people side with the male figure instead of the female figure? Up until now, that group has supported the mother or the female guardian of the child. Now we have a father being supported. So thank you for that, Laurie. So now that's the question here. Why is Michael Long the hero? What makes him the hero and not the females affiliated with the child? The child's biological mother, guardian, whatever. What is it about Michael Long where the support for him is stronger than the biological mother? This is what is confusing about all this. It goes back to why people choose sides in these cases and what there is that make these people choose one over the other. Because we have a similar situation here with Cynthia Absug and her spouses down in Florida. Same accusations back and forth. The accusation of Munchausen's and mistreatment of the children come from the male half of the family. Virtually the same thing that Michael Long is declaring here. Yet it's the mother who gets financial and material support while she's gallivanting all over the half of the country, gets arrested, is under trial in Colorado, and these people are defending her and not the father of those children. Same thing with Neely Blanchard. People support her and not the male half of the family. What's the position of the father of those children? In that case, we don't know. Everybody is supporting the mother. So this is the confusing part, because now we have the male father figure being supported, having the same back and forth as in these other cases. What incentivizes these people to take sides? And what makes them decide what side is better than the other? And I believe it's better not to take a side, sit back and try and be as neutral as possible. But it's difficult because you have to wonder what possessed this guy to do that. Yeah, I dropped that a while back. I guess, I think he probably talked it out when he was on his show last night. But, okay, here you go. Okay, well, Levi, welcome.
Hey, Mert. Sorry I couldn't hop on earlier. I had
that's
company.
Fine. Oh. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and give us a little outline about this death threat you got?
So it was from the tip line that a group had set up. It's on the wanted posters to catch Timothy Homeseth. And in December, I think it was New Year's Eve, Kathy was trying to figure out who was operating the tip line, and she thought it was me. So she made that death threat on there.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that watches the tip line had like missed it. And they had just discovered it and sent it to me to let me know about it.
Okay, so you were able to then determine that it was her. I think you stated that she confessed to making the threat.
Yeah, she said so in the comment section of my video on YouTube that I made. She said that it was her. And she claimed that the person that's operating the tip line is either me, you, Alex, or Craig Sawyer. And it's none of the above.
No, I certainly, didn't get involved in that. But I get blamed for everything along with the aforementioned individuals. I mean, we all get blamed for everything that goes in. But, this is what's interesting about this. Tim Homeseth has been going on forever about Mike Pence attempting to kill him, about Craig Sawyer allegedly threatening to kill him. He said that the image I made of a bullet coming at his head was a death threat and all this. And yet he seems to condone when one of his own comes over and makes a death threat against you. And that is highly hypocritical. There should be no death threats at all from any side floating around, period.
Yeah, I don't approve of death threats either, but I'm not shocked that Kathy McKaylee made them, considering that she started a GoFundMe for Phil McConnell and raised over $40,000 on his behalf, and he made death threats on video.
Yeah, well, that's what's the problem with him in the first place. I've been having a back and forth with Kathy, both on the comment section of my other channel and then emails. And I pointed out to her, I says, the reason that Phil McConnell's in the situation he is in the first place is because he listened to Homeseth and he made death threats against Kim Picasio. He says she needs to go to Gitmo, she needs to be executed. Allegedly, there was a beheaded Kim put on the show, much like that thing that was done to Trump a while back. And, she doesn't seem to faze her. And when I asked her, I said, what convinced you that what Tim Homeseth is saying is right? And she says, well, I read all the evidence and I concluded that. And the only evidence out there is what Tim has put out there. And whatever, what's her name said in all those recordings that she's retracted. So her bias is blinding her to what's going on.
And what's interesting with Kathy McKaylee is that she was on Facebook claiming that her husband passed away. However, I found the mortgage that she got on her house, and both she and her husband, when they moved to North Carolina, had to sign on that mortgage, and her husband's still alive. So she lied about his death on Facebook. So she's not very credible.
Okay, I don't know. I had a software crash. So
yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, the software crashed. I had to reload. So let's see. Where were you?
I was telling you that Kathy McKaylee was claiming that her husband passed away.
Uh-huh.
I found a mortgage note where she and her husband moved to North Carolina in February, and they both had to sign. He's still alive. She lied about that.
Why on earth would she do something like that? I mean, it's so easy to find this information out. I mean, I've been doxxed to the moon and back. And there's stories all over the internet where people have lied about what they did and what they're doing, and they get outed all the time. And that's basically, it's a stupid thing to do. I don't know how she thought she was going to get away with it, or she even cared. And Tim Holmset does this all the time. He'll sit there and he'll lie about everything. And then it takes about 10 or 15 minutes of a Google search, and you nail his ass to saying this is a big fat lie. And he ignores that and moves on and tells another one.
Uh-huh. And Fireman John used to know Kathy. And he said that she used to be a very nice, normal person.
Well, something happens to these people. I think at one time a lot of people out there in Q land were normal, but they get soaked up in this and they just lose it. All common sense goes out the window. They get into the quicksand of the conspiracy. They can't get themselves out of it. And it's like being in an enormous cult. And they wind up getting ostracized by a lot of people around them. So all they have are themselves. And so they just all get into the group huddle and support each other with all these blatant lies.
Yeah, and I think that she was probably radicalized by watching Phil McConnell.
Yeah. I remember seeing her on the shows and everything, and she is up to our elbows in.
Well, that she, at one time, she was mad at Timothy and Randy.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent Randy a message, and she said, if anything happens to Timothy, I'm going to track you down.
Yeah. See,
now they're friends again. I don't know what the issue is, but at one point she said that she regretted introducing Timothy and Phil to each other.
Yeah. Well, I think she saw the mistake that was, but it's just like this thing with Pendergrass. These people battle each other with knives, and then all of a sudden they call a truce and they're all kumbaya and sharing each other's, and they're just back being a happy couple again. It's weird. Now, in a way, I mean, you, Alexandra, me, Kim went through this. We used to be bitter enemies for a long time until we found out that we were being played with by this mysterious woman in Georgia. And we all said, well, any separate issues we have, we're going to disagree with. And we become good friends and associates over the years now that we realize what the truth is and everything.
Yeah. But with Kathy and them, they're friends one minute, enemies the next, friends again, enemies again.
Yeah, there's no stability. I mean, these people, they go where the current takes them, and if it takes them into the Bear Rapids where they can get smashed, they do it anyway. They have no stability to what their actions are. And why Kathy can't understand that Phil McConnell's troubles are because specifically of Tim Holmseth and Randy Erickson, I don't know. I just don't get it.
Did she ever tell you if Phil and Timothy have made up?
She hasn't said so, but from what because Timmy seems to think they're on good ground. We haven't heard a thing out of Phil McConnell. And she'd be the only conduit to that. So if Kathy's listening, I would like to personally know that if Tim Holmseth and Phil McConnell are on good terms and why on earth they are. But with this group, you can't come up with any common sense answers to why they do things.
Yeah, Kathy, you should come up here and talk. I'd like to know too.
Yeah, because now she wanted me to answer a whole boatload of questions, and I canceled that because when I heard about the death threat, I canceled the program. And because it was her that made the death threats, I'm not really inclined to do that. But if she wants to come on here and explain herself and answer some questions, and I'll answer some of her questions.
I invited her on my show and she didn't.
Yeah, I heard that because she asked me, one of the things she asked, she wanted to know why when way back when I was helping Timmy out, or so she thought I was, and me and Cam were having these arguments. How come we, made up and are on friendly terms? And the answer, quite specifically, is radio. Because radio was playing us all against each other. She was running around making up all these sock accounts and pretending to be both friends and enemies of all of us. And once we found out who that woman was, we exposed her, and all of this stopped. And I have mentioned this over the years at least a dozen times, and everybody should know about that. But she wanted it reiterated, and that was one of the things I was going to bring. So, Kathy, you got one of your questions answered. But all this information is on my blogs. It's on my primary channel. That everything that's happened. So all she's got to do is do some research.
I don't know why she's obsessed with me.
Because you're an enemy of Field and Timmy.
And, she started in on me years ago on Twitter and saying that I was a child trafficker or an NXIVM cult member or some crap like that. And then she said that there was a sealed indictment, and she was tweeting at me nonstop. So I looked her up and found her phone number and called her. She didn't answer, but her husband did.
Yeah.
And he acted like he didn't know what Kathy was doing online.
Well, they may not have known. It's you don't know the dynamics of the relationship. But
he said that Kathy wasn't there, but I could hear her in the background.
Oh, so he's covering for her. Well, that's not a surprise. I think the same thing's happening up in Elk River, but
I bet something weird is going on with that relationship between Randy and Brian. It's really bizarre.
Well, the thing of it is for a while there, Randy was going around calling herself Randy Homeseth, and I thought, why? In this threatened legal action against me, it's Timothy and Randy Homeseth. Okay, John is in here. Welcome, John.
Hi, guys. Yeah, and Kathy, because we did the traffic report show for a couple of years, and we talk about things like the Epstein case and USA Swimming and USA Gymnastics, Larry Nassar and stuff, and she was very yeah, I mean all real things that were going on, and she was very helpful, very normal, and we all ended up there was all that going on with Assange, and then when Seth Rich got murdered, and we decided to go to DC, and a lot of people went up there during that time, and that's where we met her. And I mean, she just was the nicest, most polite person, and we kept in touch. She supported the show, and just totally normal. And for us, what happened in our first, we didn't even know who Homeseth was, but we were having a guest on the show that her children, MS-13 gang in this rural area, and it turned out to be Indiana, were attempting to traffic her children. And the local police weren't really helping her, and she got a private investigator. And apparently, somehow, she had gotten a hold of Homeseth's name through, I guess, the internet or whatever. And I don't know if he was angry that she was going to come on our show or what it was, but the night before she was scheduled to come on, and she was going to come on anonymously. I mean, she was really afraid of her safety, and we vetted the private investigator, talked with him. I mean, it was all a real thing. And Homeseth recorded her phone call and doxed her the night before, which resulted in her having to relocate out of that area. And that's the first. And then we obviously lit him up, to the best of our ability on social media. And that's kind of when Kathy kind of drifted, away from what we were doing. And then I saw her in with, Field McConnell and especially Homestead. And I was just shocked. And she came after me on the comment
You
section.
didn't piss Kathy off, did you, John?
I did. I guess I did.
Have you ever heard her sing?
No.
Okay, there's
no.
a clip of her on, I forgot who posted it, but it was a video that she made when she attended Timothy's court hearing, the one that Timothy was too much of a coward to go to.
Yeah, the one.
And she and Dr. Good Vibes were outside the courthouse.
Oh my God.
Singing.
Oh my God.
It is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
they
Lord,
sounded like
have
two
mercy.
dead, dying cows.
Moo.
But
God.
and I agree with what Mert's saying and what you're saying. I mean, they a lot of well-meaning people got into these circles and were just totally just brainwashed by Homestead, number one, and so was Field McConnell. I mean, Field had kind of taken a kind of weird tangent even before that, but once he got involved with Homestead, I mean, he went right off the deep end, and everybody that I know, in this whole big mess, Timmy has got something to do with, making what, might have been just a bad situation much worse. And then people are facing legal issues and, because I mean, the person that I knew as Kathy McCallie never would, if you'd have told me she issued a death threat, I would have been what, what, I mean, she was just like this nice, and she followed up on stuff. I mean, when the Epstein case was going on in New York, she was down there, following that, very closely, and it just didn't make sense, and none of this makes sense. But Homestead is a common denominator, and all of this, and
now for some reason I got. Unless Levi has a twin brother, I've got two Levi's up there. I'm not sure what happened there.
I don't know what happened either.
It's the time phone hack.
Emma cloned me.
Yeah, I'm gonna knock your evil twin out of here.
Okay.
Lee Veltman and Jolly performed a time phone hack on Levi.
The attack of the clones. But that was weird. I've never had that happen before.
We need two of Levi. I think we need two of Alex too. But I'm this Lawson case is just really bugging the living shit out of me, and I'm gonna call the FBI in the morning and probably won't get anybody. Usually you can't get them until weekdays, but ask them why they're not involved in a felony non-custodial abduction out of the state of Texas. I just maybe they'll have an answer to that.
Yeah, you may want to call the Texas field office, probably Houston, and because they would be the ones with the best mindset. There may be an evidentiary situation or something interagency. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you've abducted a child. You've crossed state lines. He's obviously and like it was people in Levi's chat. The first person that noticed it was when he was live on Facebook, like the idiot he is. The sun was a lot brighter than it would have been in Texas because he was further west, and then he takes pictures that are identifiable. I mean, this guy. He's a nut. I mean, he's got an evaluation that says he's a nut. I mean, and thank you, Shar, for bringing that law up. And CPS must be involved in this case. You would imagine at this state.
Yeah. I think they've been involved in the beginning because that's where all this custody issue is coming from. But to take a child out of their home state at that age and all the instability that's going to be there. And also, I just find it interesting that this is the first time in my memory that the internet has taken the side of the male instead of the mother. Because Absa, Blanchard, so on and so forth have all been the side of the mother. And the interaction's been precisely the same. The male spouse accusing the female spouse of abusing the child and vice versa. And now we have the male as the hero, quote unquote, in this situation. I don't get it.
Well, I think the only people that are taking his side are the sovereign citizens, and unfortunately, it's drawn down political lines too. And not saying that all, Trump supporters would support this guy, because they definitely wouldn't. But I think this is the sovereign citizen type. They're all like rabid Trump supporters and sovereign citizens, and that's who the guy's getting the support from, not the internet per se or anybody.
Well, the thing I'm trying to figure out, because that would apply to the female side too. I mean, she's the biological mother, and it's a back and forth. It's kind of like an equal scale here, where the sovereigns would support either one of them, but normally in these situations, they always go to the female and the mother. In this case, they're going in the complete opposite direction and going with the male. So what tipped the scales is what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think he just happens to be male. They go with whoever's breaking the law and defying, the CPS and the court order. That then they get all that support. Look at Francesca Amato, all those people. I mean, they'll support anybody that's going to put themselves in legal jeopardy by violating court orders, and they're advising them. Look at what Hallett and Pendergrass did. I mean, they were advising these people. Whether I just think this guy just happens to be a male,
but that's kind of
what do you think, Levi?
I think the reason that he got support in the beginning is because he was the one that was making it an issue on the internet. He's the one that introduced the case to the internet by posting that video.
Right.
And because he was trying to make it out to be a case of SA, I think a lot of people chose to side with him because of that too.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know the history. Like, he had accused like a ton of people of abusing Sophie, and one jurisdiction, the judge in another county, banned him from making those accusations in court again.
God. And while the mother is doing the correct thing, following the court procedures and trying to establish equitable custody, and this idiot's going on the internet lying about SA
and way back a year ago, Timothy Holmseth wrote about this case and was supporting Michael Long a year ago.
Yeah. Wrong way. Holmseth scores again. Has Tim ever been on the right side of an issue?
No.
No,
absolutely not. But the thing is in general, we of the internet need to quit taking sides in these cases. Yes, in the case of Michael Long, we have to be concerned because he broke the law and he's got this child out of state. But, because if he's right for whatever reason, he's just killed himself by taking that child out of the state. Because now it's all going to, the mother and the other side is going to be the beneficiary of his actions. Who's going to suffer the most in all of this is the child. Because she has this trauma, she wants to be with the father for whatever reason, and she's going to get ripped away from the father eventually. And so the child is the one that's going to pay the price for everything that's going on here. And that's the tragedy of all this.
Yeah, and do something. And there are problems with CPS. The reason we started that show was a little boy by the name of Adrian Jones that DCF in Kansas had just. It was they should have went to jail for the way they allowed that case to transpire, where they finally ended up murdering the child, and that we actually his grandmother went to the legislature and they passed new laws that were directed towards CPS. I guess something, and I mean, do something like that, instead of
But if you get into the sovereign citizen philosophy and maritime law and all this,
They
other
pick all the
crap.
wrong cases. They pick all the wrong cases. Like, I could list a ton of cases where Child Protective Services really is to blame, but they never pick those cases. They always pick the shitty cases.
Yeah,
like Michael Long, or Neely Blanchard,
Yeah,
Cynthia Absug.
Strange.
Yeah, and I think they target and I know Francesca Amato has done that. I'm pretty sure.
Did you see her lot where she went live and farted while she was on the air?
Well, yes, I did. I actually,
you're the one that sent it to me.
I sent that to you. Yeah.
She let it rip and then blamed her poor dog.
Oh my God!
And did you see the way she looked? All these people, and you can see when you look at Kirk now, they are suffering from what they've been doing, and she just looked like a crazy old crone, and just rambled on. Because they all run out of gas eventually. They run out of bullshit.
She looked like a crack whore.
Oh my
okay,
goodness.
okay, I go with that. Yeah, just disjointed, gibberish, and then then she farts and blames it on her dog. I was like, and I couldn't watch the whole thing, but I've got a pretty good ear.
I think Alex actually isolated that part and made a video about it.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, you're gonna have to play the video or.
I got the video. I'll send you the video. I got
do that.
But I bet you Alex got more creative with it than I did. I just recorded the sound. God,
Mert, aren't you glad you made up with Alex?
Oh yeah, I don't need her on the bad side of me. My God, that woman's she's a ballistic missile.
A ball buster, I think, is the term.
Yeah.
Who I love dearly.
Yeah, she'll crush you into a little gibberish or something there.
Well, Mert, have you seen the documentary that she's in on Netflix?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually went up to Ohio and I interviewed her, but because of technical reasons I couldn't get it up on the air. I might at some time do it. But she went through everything, and if anybody has not seen Roll Red Road, they need to, because it explains why she got involved, and it's a very, very personal reason, and it surprised me. But you meet the woman in person, other than the fact that she smokes like a train, she's a very nice, friendly individual.
She quit.
Yeah, she told me that. Congratulations, Alex. She quit. Well, yeah, because she was smoking like a chimney and all the time. One right after the other, poof, poof, poof. But she's very genuine, very honest, very blunt. And if you get on the good side of her, she's the best friend you can ever have. But man, you piss her off, you better run fast.
Sounds like my wife. Is she Irish? Alex Irish.
She's German, which is just as bad.
Yeah, that's about the same. But if anybody that watches that video, I don't think that case would have properly went forward without the work.
No, she was the linchpin in that whole thing. She went to town on that town. Because that town had
Derek Lestutter. He didn't do anything.
Well, Derek is an idiot.
And he gets back on the internet soon, Mert.
That's what I heard. But
Are you ready for him?
Yeah, I'm ready for him. Yeah.
I wonder if Timmy and Randy had Netflix and they could watch that movie and figure out what they're in for.
Oh, they probably watched that one pervy show on there with the kid dancers.
Oh, yeah.
That Timothy's probably watching that all the time, taking screenshots.
on McDonald's Wi-Fi on his Galaxy phone from 10 years ago. You know, God.
Yeah.
Thelma and Louise.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down because I have some things I have to do early tomorrow morning. I appreciate you both coming in. I appreciate everybody that came in. And
Hey, Murr,
we'll
before you go,
sure.
The job that you did out there in Colorado was excellent. The report that you gave and the after action report, that's a fire department term, but you know what I mean. But I just wanted to make sure that I congratulated you on that, because it was very, very well done, I thought.
Well, thank you very much. I had a few technical glitches there, but you know, it is what it is. And it was a very brief presentation. That the whole thing lasted about 45 minutes, and it's the very same issue. This expert witnesses and all this evidence that the defense claims they have not gotten. So it caused this new delay. I believe it's tentative for January 10th of next year that they're finally going to get this thing all cleared up and go to trial. The judge was not happy that nobody was ready, but she says, under the circumstances, I can see that we're going to have to continue. But the thing that surprised me is the difference of how she looks in person versus her mugshot, because I didn't recognize her. I even borrowed a pen from her, which is funny. But
do you think she recognized you?
I don't think she knows me from a dust mite on the floor.
Well, she contacted you.
Yeah, but that was over a year and a half ago, and I don't think she knows what I look like personally, because on my Twitter account, all I have is my camera up there. I have my press association up there, but I don't think she knew what I looked like, and it didn't dawn on her who she was talking to.
I heard that she is furious with Timothy Homseth. Furious.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. She is. Yeah. But she's got like an 18. She's got a public defender, a male lawyer, and these two other ladies. So she's got like a little entourage. And then this Ken person shows up who looks interesting looking.
A benefactor. She has a
benefactor. He's a benefactor. Well, he bought him lunch. Took him out for brunch or something. But, you know, they were hugging him like he was Grandpa Amos or something there, and beloved guy. And it finally dawned on me, because she would come over to the bar and she would talk to the woman, and I was sitting where it was eye to eye, and it finally dawned on me, that is Neely. She'd had a complete makeover, had a nice blouse on, the black dress, the hair. She looked like very, very professional. And that I would prefer to have that image of her to put up than the mug shot, because it actually puts her in a much better light. So it'd be nice if I could get a good image of her. But, after the first of the year, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm going to try and go back up there for the actual trial again. But it just depends on if they get it to where there's an actual trial and not a 1 hour hearing, because it's kind of a waste of time to run up there for an hour and then have to come right back, because the trial was supposed to have started and be over by now. But, we all know what happened. But again, I do appreciate the compliment. I'm going to try and improve my presentations as I move forward and learn the software and get the bugs out of the system. Right now, I can't get my webcam up and running. I don't know what happened to that. It's a software issue. I'm going to change the brand of webcam pretty soon and see if that solves the problem. So with that, I'm going to call it a night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, you guys.
Thanks for checking in.
You're awesome.
Thanks for anybody that's left.
Night, everybody in the chat room too.
Right. Yep. Okay, everybody. This is William K. Murtathon, Witness 1. Please like, subscribe, share, come back again. We'll do this again next Saturday and maybe sooner if something comes up, because I will do some kind of report on the hearing tomorrow with Phil McConnell. Until then, have a good one.